Javier Milei has been an interesting president of Argentina, Chris.
I'm fairly confident that you could say he's interesting, not just because of his hairstyle, but because he's been a clown.
He rather has been, but I guess that's what happens when you elect an anarcho-capitalist to run, a modern nation state. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But so for those of you who've been like paying attention to Argentina's delightful economy, you'll know that they are one of the craziest economies that ever exists. One of the
Oh,
jokes
yes.
in economics has always been there are four types of economies, Chris.
Yeah.
Developing economies,
Yeah.
developed economies,
Yeah.
Japan, and Argentina. Yeah, because with Argentina, you have these periods of intense growth followed by massive inflation and then economic collapse, and then the whole process starts again.
Yeah.
Uh, Javier Milei is coming in at the low point of that particular cycle. Huge inflation spiked by the Peronist government that he took over from. His whole deal has been we're going to wring out the socialist influences. We're going to marketize the economy. We are going to get rid of the things that are holding back Argentina. And that is going to mean just putting a shit ton of money from the budget and putting us through hell in order to get inflation under control and in order to spark economic growth. And it should not surprise you, Chris, he's been very successful with the first part.
Yeah.
Now Argentina, instead of having the highest rate of inflation in the world, has the highest rate of inflation in the world, but a much lower highest rate of inflation in the world. So that's been
Huge.
a success. Yeah.
Good for him.
The economic growth, not so much. And in
Yeah.
fact, yeah, a lot of it comes down to the fact that their currency is pegged to a certain number of pesos to the dollar.
Yeah.
But the problem is the people in the markets, they don't want to pay that price. They think that the peso is worth much less than that, which means that the Central Bank of Argentina, in order to maintain that peg, it needs a supply of dollars so it can sell dollars for peso, or it can sell dollars in exchange for pesos at their exchange rate, right?
Yeah.
This is a complex issue. It's enough to just say this. They need money. They always need more dollars.
Yeah.
And they recently got a big loan from the IMF that gave them dollars, and that gave them some breathing space. But now they're running out of that money because instead of those exchange rates equalizing, reducing the pressure, like the value of the peso has just fallen and fallen. So it's creating intense pressure for them.
Right. And it's really important to remember that the reason that people care about the price of currency is because when you do trade, international trade, you need to make sure that your money isn't so expensive that people can't buy your goods.
Absolutely, right?
But also not so cheap that people will import stuff from other countries. Did I get that right?
Well,
Yeah,
so if your currency is really valuable, it's very cheap to buy stuff from abroad,
that's
very
right.
cheap to import stuff, but really expensive to export stuff. Ain't nobody got to buy your stuff because it's too costly.
Yes,
If your currency is worthless, it is super easy to sell to everybody else because you're
that's it.
selling on the cheap.
You export.
And it's really hard to import stuff because imports are super expensive.
Yes.
If you produced everything you needed at home, that would not be a problem. If you do need to import stuff because like your economy depends on it, that's a big problem. So this is the reason why Argentina has that currency peg in the first place, to try to keep the currency at a level that allows for the imports they need while allowing them to sell the exports that they need to sell to pay for it. And it has not been working, Chris. It has not been working.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it has been working. So what
Yeah.
have they had to do, or who have they had to call?
Well, this is where one President Donald J. Trump enters the picture.
Friend of the
Trump
pod.
Absolutely, absolutely. A great man, and obviously to be hailed in all ages. Is part of his plan to make America great again, he decided to give $20 billion or so to Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, yeah, so it's maybe MAGA stands for Make Argentina Great Again, I guess.
I'm
these
sure it
days.
does. I'm sure it does.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
$20 billion, and the
Yeah.
U.S. government's just shut down because
Exactly.
they don't want to pay
Yeah.
for Medicare for people
No.
who need health care, but they will
And we
give
have no money.
Javier
Chris. We
Milei.
have no money.
They're going to buy Argentinian bonds,
Yep.
and then they're also going to basically a $20 billion currency swap with the central bank to prevent
Yep.
the peso from getting changing its price so much that it ruins the economy.
Exactly. Now, I think Donald Trump is doing this primarily because he sees Javier Milei as being an ideological, like, fellow traveler, being like an ally in international politics, being part of like this populist right. That
Unlike Lula in Brazil, who
exactly.
he's leveling massive tariffs on Brazil because Brazil has done the right thing and they have convicted a person who
Mm.
tried to overthrow the government.
Well, now, Chris, I mean,
Yeah,
that's hardly a crime, is it? Overthrowing the. Oh, wait, no, that is totally a crime.
in America, it
Yes,
seems
that's
to
right.
be okay, but in other countries who've recently had dictatorships, they're like, maybe don't do it. Maybe not do it.
Yeah,
Maybe if you
yeah.
do it, you get put in jail or house arrest, one of the two. But you're not doing this anymore.
Exactly. But what's really interesting about this, Chris, right, is that Argentina gets this infusion of dollars, totally allows them to like buy some more time to stabilize their currency, right? So what do they do in response? How do they thank America for this incredible gift?
No. Hang on. I think I know the
No,
answer to
yeah,
this. In
yeah.
In Buenos Aires, there is
Hmm.
a monument that's kind of like the
Hmm.
Washington Monument,
Hmm.
and have they not spray painted Donald Trump's face onto it?
Well, that wasn't if that happened, that wasn't an official action by the Argentinian state, I'm afraid to say.
It
Um,
I'm gonna level with you. It didn't happen.
Damn. Oh, well, sorry, DJ. Sorry, DJT. No spray paint for you.
Rough.
Um, yeah. Now, instead, what happened is that they took that money and said, "Oh, thank God! Now we can reduce export taxes on soybeans." So they immediately made a big deal to sell soybeans to China, just as China was about to buy billions of dollars of soybeans from the United States, which means that the price of soybeans in America has collapsed, and all the farmers who voted for Donald Trump are finding that once again they have been fucked by Donald Trump. Um, it
Yeah,
it keeps
yeah.
happening.
Yeah,
It keeps happening.
this was all found, I believe, on the Secretary of Treasury's phone that he happened to have out, and somebody snapped a picture
Yep.
of a conversation, of a text conversation,
Hmm.
basically saying that China has now, basically Argentina has sold their
Yep.
soybeans to
Yep.
China,
So the
and
rights of China.
America isn't going to. So another thing that we're not going to talk about now is
Hmm.
the fact that farming in America, just like it did in 2017
Hmm.
in the first Trump administration is just struggling because Trump has screwed over the industry so hard,
Yep.
and yet they keep voting for him.
Yeah.
So because they think that he's going to bail them out, and the question is now the government shut down, so who knows? But thanks.